Hello, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer at Functional Aesthetics EC, where we're helping average guys perform better in their lives inside and outside the gym. In today's video, I want to give you some unconventional advice on how you can build a stronger, more muscular, and defined chest. So, a lot of times, guys think that, they're like, what chest exercises can I do so that, I get more definition on the inner part of my chest here? Or what can I do to kind of widen it out a little bit or, add a little more mass to the upper part and stuff like that. And they're always thinking about, either lifting heavier weights or doing more reps or hitting a different angle on their chest. But actually what I've found is that sometimes if you're training your chest too much, you can actually stunt the growth of your chest, the strength of your chest, and limit the amount of definition also that you get in your chest. Because, I think a lot of times when people are doing a lot of push-ups and stuff like that, and they're thinking, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm burning all these calories, I'm going to remove all this fat that's on my chest. Well, that's actually, you can, to some degree, do a little bit of spot reduction, but if you're trying to remove fat from your chest, you need to remove it from the rest of your body, and the best way to do that is doing full body movements. So, for example, doing something like where you're squatting to pressing, squat to press, real metabolic type movement right there, or doing a kettlebell swing into a one-arm snatch, or doing deadlifts to pull-ups, just training all the different, movement patterns. And if you want, just shorten the rest periods, or do a combination like I do in my hybrid strength program, where you do like kind of a powerlifting style, where you're going heavy on the deadlift, then a little bit lighter, doing things like snatches, barbell cleans, kettlebell swings, and stuff like that, where you're using a similar type movement pattern, but with lighter loads and at faster rates. That can be very beneficial as well. But what I've found is that actually, by training my back more, and then also stretching my chest more, doing external rotation exercises more, has actually helped to improve the definition in my chest, and actually helped me become a little bit stronger in my bench press, as opposed to doing more bench presses or more push-ups or more flies or cable crossovers or whatever the chest exercise of choice might be. In fact, it was due to I had injured my shoulder a couple times, and so I had to start, doing a little bit less pressing and chest exercises and more mobility work. And I actually found in the course of doing that I actually started getting more definition by training the chest less. And then when I did come back to training the chest and training the chest at less frequent intervals as well, that when I would train it, I'd get a much better pump, I'd feel much better mind-muscle connection, a better contraction in the chest muscles when I was pressing, and therefore leading to greater strength and muscular development. And so a lot of the reason why, if you're doing too much chest exercises, you start to kind of round forward like this, because the anterior deltoids, your chest muscles, they all start to get a little bit shorter and tighter because you're not training your back enough. And as a result, you can't fully stretch the muscle and go through the full range of motion of the pectoral muscle or your anterior deltoids when you're doing that. And so one of the key drivers of building more muscle is going through a full range of motion. So time under tension, and then also full range of motion exercise as well. So, you see a person doing a squat in the gym and they got like 600 pounds on the bar, but they're only, moving down about this far and then come back up, right? So, whereas when you see bodybuilders doing the stuff, they're going down as far as they can, come back up, maybe even pause at the bottom, come up a little bit, pause again, and just increasing that time of tension and then the overall range of motion. So, in this video, I'm just going to show you a couple different ways that you can help to balance out your pushing and your pulling muscles for a more well-balanced physique, a better quality physique, and more importantly, a physique that is more resistant to injuries and will keep you in the gym and healthy long term. Alright, so the first exercise here is what we want to do is we want to stretch out the chest muscles, because then it will make any sort of pulling exercises afterwards more effective. So just the basic chest stretch. And I like to do is also work on a little external rotation of the shoulder while I'm stretching the chest, just to get two birds with one stone. So start with that. You take like the heel of your hand or the outside edge of the hand on the pinky side, put it up against a door frame, squat rack, or a fence post or something like that, or even a tree. And then you're just going to go out into a lunge position and try to keep your chest nice and elevated. Try not to extend too much through your lower back, because that'll absorb some of the stretch. And then you can also do the regular stretch like this. And then another stretch is where you stand in a door frame and you put your elbow and your hand up against the door frame. You lean slightly past the door to get a little stretch going, and then slide your hand up the door, and that'll stretch the pectoral minor muscle to help you get both the big main muscle here with that regular stretch, and then the smaller muscle fibers that lie underneath that one, which oftentimes become tight. Okay, so now after you stretch the chest muscles, then what we want to do is we want to start training the back a little bit. Now, in addition to doing your core movements, which should make up the bulk of your back training, like your bent over barbell rows, your T-bar rows, actually the seated rows are nice too. And if you can get one where you have kind of a neutral grip and you're out wide like this, this is a nice complement to the regular pronated or even reverse gripped bent over barbell rows. In addition to that, you can do reverse flies and things like that. Now, after you've done that, to finish the workout off, you want to do like smaller little muscles to really work on training, and this can actually be good too, even as you are learning to do the bigger core movements, because a lot of times you can be doing the exercise but not feeling it in the right place. So the most important thing when you're training to develop your muscles and stuff like that, build more muscle, is not just moving the weight from point A to point B, but also being aware of where do I feel the muscles, can I feel the muscles that I'm trying to work when I'm doing this exercise? And sometimes the answer might be no, and to be able to feel that, then what you want to do is to take things like, lighten the load, maybe use resistance bands, or really light dumbbells, and focus on feeling that contraction. Because sometimes if the muscle is weak, you will use say like the bent over row, and your lats will take over or something like that because they're a little bit stronger already, and then you'll miss like the rear delts and the rhomboids, or maybe even just the hand placement. So if you place your hands about shoulder width apart and you're rowing, it's going to place more emphasis on the lat muscles. If you go out a little bit wider, you're going to get more activation in the rear delt and the rhomboid muscles in the upper back. So this exercise here, I like to use with a resistance band to help to get that, for good posture. They'll tell you roll your shoulders down and back, right? So keeping those arms straight, this helps to actually train that movement of rolling the shoulders down and back by extending the shoulder blades, or extending the shoulder. So use a fairly light resistance, because you want to be able to also pause and hold the contraction at the top without just heaving it up and then coming back down, right? So when you're doing these smaller movements, it's all about the control, again, not just moving the weight. So taking a deep breath in to initiate, and then exhale as you extend your arms behind you. Shoulder blades up, and then down and retract as you push back. Breathe in on the way back, and then exhale as you go forward. And you just do anywhere between, 10 to 15 repetitions of that exercise. Now, actually a great thing to do even before you do bench presses, on a bench press day, prior to doing your first set of bench presses, is to do some resistance band pull-aparts. And what that does is that when you're bench pressing, it's a good idea to focus on kind of externally rotating your hands, almost like you're trying to bend the bar, and screwing your shoulder blades in like this. So you kind of retract and depress the shoulder blades. And by doing these pull-aparts, it kind of helps you to get that mind-muscle connection going and warm that movement pattern up prior to doing it. It's also a good thing to do maybe before you do your first set of bent over rows if you're new to doing rowing exercises. Now after we've been working more of the shoulder retraction, now we're going to work on external rotation in various different planes of motion to work the rotator cuff, which is going to be the smallest muscle group in this whole pattern. So what we want to do is start out with one of my favorite exercises, which I call a diagonal raise. And think about if you had a sword in a scabbard next to your side. And this is kind of the movement pattern you want to do. So you're going to pull from here with the thumb side down, like you're dragging that sword out. So you're going to have to, like if you're pulling the sword out, you can't just go like this and pull it right away, right? You have to kind of drag it a little bit first, and then once you get out, you know, it clears the scabbard, then you can rotate it out. So that same kind of idea with the diagonal raise. So you want to almost be leading with the elbow joint towards the ceiling at a diagonal in the same plane of motion as your thumb, and then as you get up to about here, you're going to rotate like you're charging into battle or something, right? So breathe in and then exhale. And then on the other side, so we go. And you want to do anywhere between 10 to 15 repetitions on each side to start. Start with a little bit lower resistance to begin with and more repetitions just to really get good at that movement pattern and build the endurance. And then after you become comfortable with the exercise, you can increase the resistance a little bit and drop down that repetition range. So now we'll move on to another stretching exercise that's really good for the chest and the shoulders. So this is probably one of my favorite all-time universal shoulder / chest stretches. And all you need is either a bar, PVC pipe works great, and you're going to hold in that snatch grip position. So if you're going to do like the Olympic lifter or like a snatch, you want to have your hands spaced such that when you're standing straight up with your chest up, that the bar is going to sit in the crease of your hips right on top of your hip flexors. So that's about good width to begin with this exercise. You're going to breathe in as you raise it over your head. Try to keep your elbows, your arms locked out and straight. And one thing you want to do is not rush this exercise. You want to pause at the top. Exhale as you come forward. Pause. And exhale just like that. Now, this is as you become more flexible, you can gradually bring your hands a little bit closer. Now, obviously, if you're straight up like this, you're not going to be able to go back and touch because the shoulder joint just won't move that way. But start out a little bit wider, and then as it becomes easier over time, you know, if you're doing this at least 3 times a week, it should become a little bit easier to do, and you should be able to ultimately come down and touch your butt with at least a snatch grip hand width position. Now, this is a great lead into another exercise, great mobility exercise. Not necessarily a great thing to help with stretching out for developing the chest, but it's great for increasing the strength of your thoracic spine, the muscles that support that, so particularly your lower trapezius muscle, which helps to bring your posture up like this. It also helps with that external rotation, mobility in the shoulder joint, and mobility in the hips and the neck and the ankles. And this is why I include this for anybody who's never done squats before. I pretty much always include some form of an overhead squat with no weight, just a standard bar, so about maybe maximum 10 pounds, maybe even just using a PVC pipe, and you just practice doing the overhead squat. So again, standing with a just outside shoulder width apart position, breathe in. And practice that. If you want to improve your posture, if you want to improve your overall mobility and get flexible as well as strong, great exercise to include in your routine. Alright, so the last exercise of this video, and you've probably seen this exercise in some of my other videos before, but it's a great one that you can do just about anytime, anywhere, and I recommend that you do it, if not on a daily basis, at least 3 times a week when you're trying to increase the mobility of your shoulders, and every time after you do some sort of pressing or shoulder either vertical or horizontal pressing type workout, you want to do this kind of exercise to help mobilize the shoulders, restore that proper alignment, and make sure that you are not creating any imbalances. It's also good sometimes when you're doing pull-ups as well, because sometimes the lats can cause that, internal rotation of the shoulders too. So what we want to do is we want to start by taking a deep breath in, rolling the shoulders down and back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and then you're going to point the thumbs up towards the ceiling with the palms facing in front of you, and reach up as high as you can. Now, a great thing to do first is to rotate your hips under like this, clench your butt muscles together, and what that does is it positions your hips in the proper position so that you can't gain additional range of motion by extending your lower back. So, and then you can reach over the head and stuff like that, and that will help to loosen up your shoulders. Alright guys, I hope that helped you out with getting a little bit of unconventional advice on how to further develop your chest. Oftentimes, more is not better. In fact, many times doing more will actually be a detriment to your long-term development and growth and maximizing your potential. So it's all about that balance. If you do too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And so you want to be making sure that you are developing not only because it looks better to have a well-developed back, but it's also going to help the front side of you look better and help you be able to continue training into your 60s, 70s, and even 80s without having to stop training because you have a career-ending injury to your shoulder or some other muscle in your body. So, guys, if you like this kind of content and you'd like to see more content related to nutrition, fitness tips, mobility exercises, things to do to help you prevent injuries or to come back from a lifting-related injury, also philosophy related to fitness and life, then please consider subscribing to the channel by clicking the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen over here. And if you like the video, hit that like button. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness-related information.